Tonight, let me tell you a story from the lands of West Africa, where nights are long and warm, and where people once sat in circles by the fire, listening to the voices of elders. The air would hum with the sound of insects, and somewhere far away a drum might echo before fading into silence. In those evenings, children would rest their heads on their mothers' laps, and travelers would stop their journeys just to listen. For in those stories, the trickster Eshu walked among them. And though Eshu was known for puzzles and sudden turns, his lessons were often gentle, even kind. This is a tale of a hat, a path, and two farmers whose lives touched for a brief moment and were never quite the same again. It begins with a restless evening. Two men had worked the soil all day. Their fields stretched side by side, divided only by a narrow dirt road. One grew yams, the other grew maize. Each trusted his own labor and his own wisdom, but they rarely spoke more than a greeting. It was not anger that kept them apart, only the quiet pride that sometimes builds walls higher than stone. As the sun dipped low, Eshu placed a hat upon his head. On one side, he painted it red. On the other side, he painted it white. He smiled, for he knew that colors can be more than colors. They can be mirrors that show us how we look at one another. He began to walk along the road that divided the fields. His steps were light, his staff tapping the earth, his laughter hidden in the rustle of evening leaves. From the yam field, the first farmer looked up. He saw a stranger pass, wearing a fine red hat. He thought to himself, "That is a bold man to walk through our village with such a bright color. Red is the shade of fire, of daring. Perhaps he is a warrior." He kept the image in his heart, certain of what his eyes had told him. From the maize field, the second farmer looked up at the same moment. He saw the stranger too, but from his side the hat shone white. He thought, "That is a man of peace, a wanderer, perhaps a healer. White is the shade of calm and new cloth." He also kept the image in his heart, certain of what his eyes had shown. Later, as the farmers rested, they met at the roadside well. One spoke of the red hat, the other of the white. Their words collided like two waves. At first, they laughed in disbelief. Then, slowly, their voices sharpened. Each insisted on the truth of his own vision. The yam farmer said, "I swear on the soil that feeds me, the hat was red." The maize farmer said, "By the seeds in my hand, I know it was white." The evening cooled, but their tempers warmed. What Eshu had left behind was not only a color, but a question. Were their eyes wrong? Or was their trust in one another too thin to bear a difference? Some say their quarrel grew loud enough to startle the goats tied near the well. Others say the argument was softer, more like the steady crackle of embers. But whichever telling you hear, both men felt the distance between them grow wider than the road itself. It was then that an elder, who had been listening from the shadows of a nearby tree, stepped forward. She had seen many seasons, and her back bent like the bow of a hunter who has carried too many arrows. She asked them gently, "Why do you quarrel?" They explained, each sure of his sight. She listened, and then smiled in a way that was neither mocking nor stern. "Perhaps the path itself is teaching you tonight," she said. "Perhaps a trick has walked between you." The farmers frowned, not yet ready to give up their pride. But the elder's voice was calm, as if she were smoothing the soil with her hand. "Look to the meaning, not only to the color," she whispered. "For sometimes both are true." The men parted that night unsettled, carrying questions heavier than their baskets. Sleep came slowly. The yam farmer dreamed of flames turning to cloth. The maize farmer dreamed of cloth glowing like fire. Each dream felt unfinished, like a song cut short. In another telling of the story, it is not an elder who speaks first, but Eshu himself. He turns back on the road, laughing softly, and tips his hat for all to see. One farmer gasps at the red side, the other at the white, and then both laugh until tears wet their faces. The trickster bows, saying, "Now you understand. One truth may shine in many colors. Do not quarrel over what you see. Learn to walk around the circle together." Whichever version you prefer, the night does not end in anger. Instead, it ends with a small seed of understanding, though at first hidden under the soil of pride. And like all seeds, it waits for the right season to grow. When villagers repeat this story, they often add soft details. They speak of the crickets singing steadily, as if to calm the men. They describe the lanterns flickering in doorways, reminding everyone that light has many shapes, but always pushes back the dark. Some even say that after this night, the farmers began greeting one another with a little more warmth. They would still debate, as neighbors do, but their voices no longer cut sharp. Perhaps that is the gentle trick of Eshu. He does not strike with thunder or demand fear. Instead, he leaves behind a puzzle that opens like a flower at dusk. He reminds us that our eyes, though precious, do not always hold the full story. Sometimes we need to listen, sometimes we need to walk to the other side, and sometimes we need to laugh at the simple truth that two colors can live on one hat. And as you listen now, in the quiet of your own evening, perhaps you can imagine that road stretching beneath the moonlight. A stranger passes by, hat tilted, smile hidden. You might see red, or you might see white. But if you wait, if you breathe, you may come to see both. And when you do, a calmness spreads, as steady as the night wind through the tall grass. Morning does not erase the hush of last night. The same road lies between the yam field and the maize, and the two farmers reach the well with quieter hearts. They greet one another with gentle questions. Across the square, an artisan stretches a drum skin over a round frame. He listens to the space between the men's words the way a maker listens to wood, hearing where it might ring true. Night insects murmur. The elder returns at first light. Her wrapper is plain, her step is careful. She brings a small calabash of water and a few kola nuts. "Walk with me," she says, and they follow to the narrow road. Dew clings to leaves. The earth is cool to the touch. She sets the calabash down as one sets a bowl at a doorway. "In some teachings," she says softly, "colors belong to families. White is a cool family. Red is a warm family. Some say Eshu moves between them with ease, asking minds to move too." The men stand where they stood when Eshu passed. The elder walks back and forth, then turns, so her left side faces one man and her right side faces the other. "Now see me," she says, from both places. They do, and the simple act clears a small fog from their chests. The artisan nods from his bench. A traveler, pausing to buy water for his gourd, lingers beneath a neem tree. He comes from a coastal road where waves breathe against the shore. He has watched small disagreements swell and then soften when someone chooses to walk around and look from the other side. Did our stories use tricksters to teach harmony? The elder wonders aloud, more to the soil than to the men. In Yoruba telling, Eshu keeps the crossroads. He carries messages where they must go. If we never disagree, we do not learn where our thinking narrows. If we cling to quarrel, we forget we are kin. He ties a gentle knot in the day, and we untie it together. She tips a little water onto the road, not as command, but as greeting. They taste cola, bitter first, then faintly sweet. The shift on the tongue feels like a lesson. The artisan lifts the drum and taps a round, patient rhythm. The traveler hums a tone that seems to belong to dust and leaves. The elder smiles. "In one telling," she says, "Eshu's hat is red and white. In another, cowries catch the light like small moons. In another, the brim is woven from palm fibers so he can tilt truth into a new light. The lesson is the same. Walk around the circle together." The farmers breathe in time with the drum. The road looks less like a border and more like a bridge. When the sun climbs, they try again. The yam farmer says, "I saw a bold color that told me to pay attention." The maize farmer says, "I saw a quiet color that told me to breathe." The elder nods. Then both signs guided you. Relief arrives like shade. One man offers the calabash first, the other drinks and returns it with both hands. A small courtesy blooms where pride had stood. Nearby, the artisan smooths the rim and decides to carve a sign for the well. A path with 4 arms and a small 2-colored hat, its edges gently blended. The traveler shares a second tale he heard along a river road. 2 friends, hot with anger, swore never to meet again. Eshu turned the map a little, folding 2 paths toward a ferry at dusk. Each man saw a familiar back and felt a tug in the chest before the face turned. When they knew, they laughed like men waking from a short, stubborn dream. They broke bread on the ferry and set out side by side. Some say that is why, at certain crossings, people pour a drop of water and wish for good meetings, or leave a simple coin and carry on with lighter steps. Here the story leans into curiosity. Why do crossroads matter so much in West African tales and prayers? Perhaps because paths are where choices breathe. On a road, a message must travel. At a crossing, one household meets another. In some towns, a passerby leaves a greeting for the unseen. Water for the thirsty, a coin for luck, a palm nut for patient. News. These customs differ from place to place, and they are approached with respect, yet they share a gentle idea. No one goes forward alone. By midday, the fields are bright, but the memory of night still lives on the skin like the cool of shade. The farmers plan a small experiment. For 1 week, they will trade baskets at sunset, yams for maize, maize for yams, so each hand learns the other harvest. They laugh at the plain sense of it. The traveler smiles and ties a strip of cloth to his gourd to remember what was learned before he walks toward the coast. Distant waves in thought. That evening, the square is calm. Children doze on mats. A healer closes her door and feels peace settle in her shoulders. The air smells of roasting cassava and wood smoke. Somewhere a talking drum speaks a low goodbye to the day, syllables shaped like footsteps. The 2 farmers meet at the well again. They do not debate. They talk about soil and rain and which seeds to save. They promise to mend the roadside shrine when the moon grows thin. The crickets keep time. The night smiles. A small resolution settles in. The quarrel shrinks to the size of a seed and then sinks into the ground. Above it stretches the shared road, patient and bright in the moonlight. A shared truth has begun to shine, gentle and steady, like lantern light at a doorway that belongs to everyone. Rest comes easily. When the moon rises again, its glow rests gently on the thatched roofs and the silent road. The 2 farmers sit not apart, but side by side near the well. Their baskets are empty, their shoulders easy. The elder returns with a lantern, setting it between them so that the flame casts no shadow greater than the other. She speaks softly, almost to herself. A shared truth shines brighter than quarrel. The words linger in the air like a lullaby carried by the night breeze. The artisan finishes his drum and gifts it to the square. Its skin hums low, steady as a heart, and when tapped, the sound echoes the rhythm of walking feet. For crossroads, he says, to remind us that every step carries 2 sides. The children play near the glow, clapping hands to the drum's gentle tone. The healer sits among them, her hands no longer tired, and tells them to remember that laughter can heal faster than medicine when it comes at the right time. The traveler returns briefly from the coast, carrying a story he has heard. He tells of a night when Eshu sat at a market gate, painting shells half dark, half bright. Merchants quarreled until they realized both shells were the same, and then they smiled, for it made them speak across stalls they had long ignored. Eshu's tricks, the traveler muses, are small puzzles that carry wide bridges. The farmers nod, remembering their own quarrel that softened into kinship. Investigative curiosity flows again like a calm stream. Why do cultures give space to tricksters? Perhaps because they remind us that certainty can close the door, but a riddle can open it. In Yoruba thought, Eshu is a messenger, the one who makes sure offerings reach the gods, the one who carries laughter and warning alike. To honor him is to accept that life has turns, that no story is straight. Some scholars suggest his hat is a symbol of the sky at dawn when red and white mingle, and both are true at once. Others say it mirrors the halves of a kola nut, bitter and sweet, teaching us to taste both before judging. Each telling adds a thread, and together they weave something enduring. The two farmers listen as the elder hums. Quarrels, she says, are not always storms. Sometimes they are clouds drifting past, showing us how wide the sky is. The yam farmer places a small offering of water by the roadside shrine. The maize farmer places a few kernels beside it. Not as payment, not as fear, but as gratitude. They bow their heads, feeling the calm of knowing they are part of something shared. The night deepens. Lantern light softens to amber. Drums fall silent. The healer lays down her herbs. The artisan rests his tools. The traveler folds his cloth. Crickets take over the rhythm, a lullaby for anyone who still lingers awake. The farmers breathe evenly, shoulders light, their voices low and unhurried. They speak of the coming rains, of seedbeds, of children learning letters under the moon. The road between them is no longer a line of division, but a thread of belonging. And here, the tale settles into its final resolution. The quarrel that once burned has become memory, a story to be told and retold, not with anger but with laughter. The trickster has done his work. He has left no scar, only a smile that reminds them to walk around the circle to see both sides. The villagers repeat it so that children may learn early that eyes sometimes see only half, but ears and hearts can complete the rest. So tonight, as you listen, you might imagine yourself on that same road. Perhaps you see red, perhaps you see white. Perhaps you hear the drum, or the crickets, or the laughter. That follows. Whatever you hold, let it rest in your heart with kindness. For the gentle trick of Eshu is not to divide but to unite, to remind us that a bridge can be built from a quarrel if we learn to smile at both colors of the hat. The story drifts toward its end, like embers fading in a hearth. The elder rises, lantern in hand, and whispers a blessing to the road. The artisan places the drum in the center of the square, a gift for all. The healer hums a soft tune that blends with the insects outside. The traveler prepares to leave at dawn, carrying yet another story. And the farmers, once divided, now share the silence of friendship, steady as the stars above. May this tale guide your rest. May it remind you that misunderstandings can soften, that laughter can heal, and that the night carries us safely to morning. Close your eyes, breathe gently, and let the road of dreams open before you. Thank you for listening. If you wish to hear more stories, subscribe and join again. For now, good night.